Hello, everyone. My name is Matthias. You've probably seen me earlier this week. Happy to introduce this session of today, the business ideas. It's the last day before the last of the week. So tomorrow you still have two sessions to go, very interesting ones. So today, this business ideas session has a goal to show examples of startups and share experience from entrepreneurs. So I will let Cynthia continue the presentation. I'll sit here for the questions later, and I wish you a great session. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthias, and thank you for the entire team here for welcoming us and giving us an amazing space for a great conversation. Congratulations on a great week. We're Friday, like you mentioned, we're almost there. So we're very excited to be part of it. My name is Cynthia Messias. I'm here on behalf of InnoSuisse. We're really excited to bring you this conversation with two amazing entrepreneurs that have just incredible stories, incredible technology, incredible lessons learned that we'll be sharing with all of you. We'll also have an interesting discussion afterwards, so please think about your questions along the way. But before we get to that point, I just wanted to introduce to you what we do on behalf of InnoSuisse and what resources are available to all the innovators out there who are looking to launch an idea, a business idea, based on a science-based technology research, as well as all the other resources that we provide along the way. So we want to show you here, we have 4 modules that InnoSuisse provides. Module 1 is Feeling the Startup Groove, which is here, 2-hour events to kind of raise awareness about how you can start your business idea, how to commercialize it, and what examples are out there, like our speakers today, that represent an example to follow as a journey. Module 2 is the first step in that journey. It's a completely free training course that you can join that allows you to understand what steps are there to take to commercialize that idea, but also to validate that idea. Especially also with a focus on science-based technology, how to protect your IP, how to fundraise, how to do market research, etc. So Get the Startup Toolbox is our business concept training. Like I mentioned, it's a semester-long course, but it's completely free. 12-week course once a week. We offer these courses in Geneva, Lausanne, Neuchâtel, Fribourg, and Yverdon. And the skills that you develop are improving business skills, so a lot of sort of soft business marketing skills, shaping the venture idea, getting introduced to a network. Our participants are from all backgrounds. We have students, researchers, PhDs, postdocs, and even professors that join our course, and you have the opportunity to compose a team around that idea. So whether you have an idea of your own or you want to just learn what that journey looks like, the opportunity is there for discovery and for exploration. And the good thing is that you also get an InnoSuisse certificate or training at the end, which kind of gives a little bit more credibility and viability to your training, your knowledge, and your idea. So we're starting up next February, where applications are open for the spring semester. Our classes will take place in Geneva, Lausanne, and Neuchâtel. So if you're based in those cities, you're streaming in from those cities, keep an eye out. We're looking for ambitious students and researchers. We do have a capacity of 25 participants, so it is limited. But the focus of the training is to bring your idea to the market. And the good news is that they are evening classes as well. So they're very flexible to the schedule during the day. Our classes and our training are run by extensive network of experts, technical and business experts, as well as entrepreneurs and coaches that kind of help you along the way in this journey. You develop a lot of the skill sets directly from people who have done it, who have firsthand experience in bringing your research idea to market. And like I mentioned, the deadline to apply is December 20th, coming up for the spring semester. I invite you to join us to check out our website, sciencetomarket.ch. Also, the direct link for application there, bit.ly bcspring21, or send us an email at businesspointconcept@EPFL Innovation Park if you have questions about it. But check it out. The application will be closing next month, so don't miss on that opportunity. And without further ado, our conversation is going to start. So I'm excited to bring to you two amazing entrepreneurs, both of them located here, one of them an alumni of UNIGE's faculty, and with amazing technology. So we have Lynn Durham of Stalica first, and then Javier Bello of Inverse 3D, who will be sharing their experiences from research, university-based research to commercialization to scaling a business successfully, quite successfully, I would say, and what they have learned along the way, what was helpful to them, what resources in the ecosystem was helpful to them, and what they continue to do, what challenges they continue to face. So first off, I would like to welcome Lynn Durham of Stalica, who will give a brief presentation of herself, her journey, and also of her company. So Lynn, welcome to our session. Please share your screen if you can hear me. And here we go. There we go. There you go. Yep, if you can go in full mode, that will be great. Or presentation mode, so that will be, we can see the slides better. Yeah, and we can hear you. So the floor is yours.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. So thank you for having me today, and thank you to InnoSuisse. As you mentioned, I'm going to give a brief introduction to myself / my journey, and tell you more about Stalica, what we've achieved today, and our ambition. So I have a dual training in business and communications and clinical trials and drug development with a focus in pharmacology. And I also have a lifelong involvement with the neurodevelopmental disorder community. As you quite often hear, entrepreneurship stems often from vision, but also from need. In telling you about my journey, I'm going to alternate between the reason and the personal background and what drove me to build a venture. So I have a lifelong involvement with the neurodevelopmental disorder community. Both of my parents were MDs who specialized in autism over 40 years ago. I grew up near Duke University in a research center focused on developing diagnostic tools and behavioral intervention for patients with autism spectrum disorders. Some of these diagnostic tools still serve today as gold standards to behaviorally diagnose patients with autism spectrum disorder. My mother co-founded Autism France, which is a large autism lobbying organization in France, and created 2 clinical research centers, including a European Center for clinical research in autism. My first career was focused on business. I worked at the World Economic Forum and for entrepreneurship promoting ventures. As I mentioned, my involvement with the NDD community is quite personal, as both my brother and my son have autism spectrum disorder. I decided that the need was there to go beyond behavioral intervention, which is still the gold standard for providing care for patients with autism spectrum disorder, and decided that we needed to bring precision medicine approaches to a field that is still solely based on behavioral observations, and that offers little construct validity in terms of diagnostics, and little insight into the genetic and molecular etiology of these diseases. As I mentioned, I started my entrepreneurship journey working for ventures and entrepreneurship promoting initiatives. I also spent some time at the Geneva Faculty of Medicine, where I was responsible for securing non-dilutive financing for global research and translational research in oncology, neuroscience, and research in general, and launched my own initiative associating with a data scientist from the CERN to develop models, so complex systems models to analyze multiple levels of data linked to patients with autism. So I have a large network within the autism research community, and we put together and expanded that network to leverage on electronic health records from patients with autism through a first partnership with the Greenwood Genetics Center in South Carolina. We were able to gather other partnerships with leading universities and clinical research centers in the US, and by integrating non-behavioral data, including comorbidity data, phenotypical data, and biological data to generate a first phenotypical hypothesis of an enriched autism population that wasn't only defined by behavioral criteria. We then applied this first model to verify its validity within an observational clinical trial at the Greenwood Genetics Center on a first cohort of 313 patients. And we were able to demonstrate that our subpopulation had an association of symptoms, non-behavioral symptoms, at a higher rate than would be expected by chance. And we validated that this population not only existed as a group, a phenotypical group, but also as a biological group, validating their biological validity with 3 different methods, including metabolic, metabolomic, and RNA. And from this, we expanded our data science unit. So we now have 2 units in Geneva. One unit in Geneva and 1 unit in Barcelona. So the Barcelona unit is a team that we kicked off in 2017, and that now gathers 14 human geneticists, computational biologists, data scientists, chemoinformaticians, and developers who have developed the DeepHi platform, which is the first-in-class NDD precision medicine platform, linking subgroups of patients, non-behavioral subgroups of patients with autism and other neurodevelopmental disorders with candidate drugs. We also built a unit in Geneva focused on drug development and preclinical, non-clinical, and regulatory work to bring small molecules into the clinic. So our first pipeline, STP1, is specifically dedicated to phenotype 1 patients, the first population that I mentioned. And we recently, so fast forward and 24 people later, we recently received FDA IND approval to enter the clinic with our first STP1 pipeline. We have a seasoned group of drug developers, essentially with a large pharma background and regulatory background here in Geneva, and a world-class team of computational biologists in Barcelona. In the last 3.5 years, I was able to raise 23 million Swiss francs from private equity and venture capital, and go forward with that first regulatory entry into clinic approval in the US. So I will now dive in to my presentation. So the concept behind Stalicla is our mission to bring precision medicine to patients with neurodevelopmental disorders who currently have been underserved because their disease was solely behaviorally defined. So as I mentioned, we're a clinical stage company deploying a first-in-class platform to advance precision medicine for patients with NDDs. NDDs include ASD, ADHD, schizophrenia, and other disorders of the developing brain. Our platform is NDD, neurodevelopmental disorder specific, and addresses both a high unmet medical need. There are currently no FDA approved treatments for autism spectrum disorder and an untapped market. So we're leveraging on this platform. We are both mitigating the risks associated with drug development and accelerating the course of drug development. So why are we mitigating risk? Because we are starting with biologically defined populations in a historically idiopathic population, because we are advancing molecules that have already been advanced at least up to phase 2 or phase 3, and other indications are cleared in terms of toxicology. And because we have built a very solid IP basis for our model, collaborating with leading IP firms in Germany and the US for our small molecule and companion diagnostic activities, and in Palo Alto, Schwegmann, for the protection of our technology. So 2 units, drug discovery and data science unit in Barcelona, to identify clinically and biologically relevant patient subgroups and match them with relevant drug treatments with potential for acceleration, and a drug development unit here in Geneva at the Campus Biotech, bringing our own candidates drugs into clinical stage. So we also engage in collaborative programs to advance promising third-party treatment options, applying our technology. So we should announce in the coming months a large partnership, a collaborative partnership with a large pharmaceutical partner advancing their own pipeline for autism and looking for responder subgroups. As I mentioned, we have a world-class team of experienced drug developers and computational biologists to back our effort, a strong IP, and freedom to operate on our lead program with a very large addressable market. I will talk about prevalence numbers in regards to prevalence of autism spectrum disorders. So financing series, 22.5 million dilutive plus 1 million non-dilutive financing between 2017 and 2020. So So about NDDs. So NDDs are essentially behaviorally based diagnosis. They cover significant heterogeneity in terms of genetic background and clinical presentation. 40 years of research, specifically in autism spectrum disorder, have generated vast amount of data, but this data has not been integrated consistently, and key players, including pharmaceutical players, are still pursuing a one-size-fits-all approach based on psychiatric diagnosis, which offers very little insight into the genetic and molecular origin, etiology of these group of diseases. So there's a clear need to stratify homogeneous subpopulations, or more homogeneous subpopulations, to make precision medicine a reality for the neurodevelopmental disorder population. So we are tapping in a field where many drugs have failed in clinical trials. The first example here is autism. So autism is a purely behaviorally defined condition, and knowing that more than 1,000 gene variants have been associated with a heightened risk for autism, and nevertheless, people and developers are still pursuing single drug indications for this vastly heterogeneous group of patients. Big players such as Roche or Novartis have failed in the field because they have been addressing the entire autism population. What's interesting to note is that some people in failed drug trials in autism actually showed benefits. So there is a real case for precision medicine here, knowing that the main origin etiology for autism is overwhelmingly genetic. And this is known since the 1970s, where it was shown in twin studies that identical twins have up to 90% co-occurrence in autism and NDD diagnosis versus only 30% of non-identical twins. So there is a case for precision medicine. We're just dealing with heterogeneous, ill-defined conditions with profound heterogeneity within the patient population. So there's a problem of definition here. So our solution and the technology that we've developed leverages on our DeepEye platform, which is an AI-driven platform to characterize populations of patients and select drug matching candidates, and our drug development precision medicine pipeline that stems from that platform. We also have a clinical data collection and harmonization effort, and up to date, we've put together an in-depth characterized clinical sample population, so data collection of 40,000 electronic health records that are that's out on top of publicly available records. So our pipeline includes our proprietary pipeline with our first STP lead program, STP1 lead program, which has recently received FDA approval to enter clinical trials. We will be dosing our first patients in the coming 10 days. STP2 and STP7, which are still at non-clinical or preclinical stage, as well as collaborative pipelines, engaging with partners who are looking to bridge the gap in their programs by going back to patient characterization and biosampling, to applying our technology to be able to make sense out of a strongly heterogeneous population. So bridging the gap. So we're talking, as I mentioned, about a very large addressable market. The business model for precision medicine and ASD includes the fact and has to take into account the fact that patient endophenotyping, patient subgrouping may define a more restricted population than the general heterogeneous indication of autism, and thus restrict the indication, but the target subpopulation offers a stronger potential for market penetration, and thus has the potential to maintain very attractive revenue. So the market, the addressable market for STP1, taking into account that our population is about 20% on our first observational, based on our first observational trials of the general ASD population, has an addressable market that is north of 1.5 billion. And these numbers were validated by our pharmaceutical partners. So over the last 3 years, we've started from scratch to grow in terms of technology, from scratch, from a background access to data and to pools of science, but from an idea and science to a venture. And we've done this by leveraging on organizational, entrepreneurial, and management skills, but also on IP. We've massively invested in our intellectual property and the scaling up of our technology and the development of 2 specialized units. So in 3.5 years, we've identified several subgroups of patients with ASD. We've entered 3 programs into our proprietary pipeline. We've received large recognition within our space, and STP1 has received FDA IND approval to enter directly into phase 1B in clinical populations. We've also incorporated 3 additional collaborative pipelines, all corresponding to clinical stage drugs, for which identification of responder profiles is a must to rescue or advance these programs. So I am going to share a video, if this is possible, to explain what we do. I will just need you to validate for me that you are able to see this video.
Perhaps we can share that video, Lynn, in the conversation as a follow-up. That way we can introduce Javier, because we already have a lot of really good questions for you. So I think that will be a good asset to kind of follow up with.
Absolutely.
And thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Lynn. And I would like to bring in everybody in the chat. If you're still checking us out, please save your questions. We have some really interesting technical and business-related questions on the commercialization, thanks to Lynn's amazing presentation on what that journey looked like. So please keep putting them in the chat. We will get to them soon. And then Javier, I'd like to bring you in and hear from you what your journey has been. So you take the floor, Javier.
Perfect. Hi, hello everybody. Just to introduce myself, so I'm Javier. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Inverse. And we are a 3D graphics spin-off from EPFL and Campus Biotech. So I will be also sharing my screen and some slides to guide you through our journey, and also I will be doing a real-time demo of our 3D holograms here with you. So I will deactivate for now my camera, and I will share with you my screen. And I'm going to present here. Can you see my screen properly? Great. So, as I was mentioning, Inverse is a 3D graphics company, and we are building the live 3D future, starting with real-time 3D holograms for capture, editing, and streaming across different locations. Our origins are at EPFL. Myself, together with Robin, the CTO and co-founder, we created a 3D rendering engine, a proprietary 3D rendering engine at EPFL while working at a neuroscience lab. So we were working in this neuroscience lab as 3D graphics engineers, as our background is in computer science. And we were working in more than 15 virtual reality and mixed reality projects on research for brain mechanisms of body perception, awareness, self-consciousness, especially including presence, agency, and multisensory integration. So regarding that also background in cognitive neuroscience, to be a bit more specific, we needed to capture the body of the patient live in real time, include real-time special effects, and everything adapted for non-technical users, the psychologists of the lab, to perform the necessary experiments and, for example, neurorehabilitation treatments. So we participated ourselves in scientific papers that show the relationship between your self-body representation and these 3D and virtual experiences. From this background in neuroscience and our own background in 3D graphics, we obviously extrapolated that presence, agency, multisensory integration, and by definition, having your own body, your own 3D body, or the body of your friends and family, and your colleagues is going to make these virtual experiences more engaging.
Javier, really quickly, just make sure you have your camera on. We see your slides, but we don't see your screen. So make sure that you have your camera on. Sorry for interrupting.
Well, the reason I switched off my camera, it was actually to jump as a 3D hologram now after this slide.
Oh, okay. So can we see Javier's slides then? Yes. Okay. Sorry. Keep going.
Okay. You could see my slides so far, right?
Yes, we can see your slides. All right.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So then, no problem. Just going back to that, yeah. So from this background in neuroscience and 3D graphics, we extrapolated that presence, agency, multisensory integration, and by definition, having your own body in 3D, the body of your friends and family or your colleagues is going to make these virtual experiences more engaging, more memorable, more productive at the level of the brain. And that's why we believe that the digital future is 3D, is live, is social, and is interactive. So for this purpose, we created, as I mentioned before, our own 3D rendering engine and hologram capture technology. And naturally for us, as it had to be live and real time, voxels were our choice. So voxels, just to give you an idea, are a 3D representation of reality that are closer to atoms, if you wish, compared to the current standard in 3D graphics that are polygons. Polygons, as you can see on the left, are like triangles, are like origami. You are trying to create 3D objects from 2D surfaces. And this is very complicated, especially for live 3D, for creating, for example, these live 3D holograms. Calculating the connections between all those triangles in real time is an exponential problem when you are trying to capture more than one person, for example. On our case, the innovation that we are bringing is voxel rendering, this volumetric pixel rendering, these 3D cubes that you see on the right. And the reason is that with these 3D cubes, as you can see, the connections in this three-dimensional grid is always the same. It simplifies editing, it simplifies capture, it simplifies the real-time rendering. So we do believe, we really believe that voxels are the future of live 3D content. And this is because our experience and the innovation, the patent pending technology that we have is in optimizations to handle these millions of voxels dynamically on the graphics card, thanks to experience in ray tracing, volumetric rendering, and even in 3D neuron firing for biological simulations that our co-founder did in the Blue Brain project. So voxels offer the best solution for us to capture these real-time holograms. And now I will be jumping myself as a hologram here. Just to give you a bit of context, I'm going to use the system on the left. It's a system with 9 cameras that is capturing my full body in real time. So I'm going to switch to that screen right now. I hope that you can see me live here. Can you see me there?
Yeah, we see you.
Perfect. So as you can see, this is my 3-dimensional body live integrated into a virtual environment, like if I was speaking to an audience here. And the possibilities that capturing your body in 3D offer are obviously that you can control the experience. As you can see, I can really go around my full hologram. And this, as a viewer, you will be able to attend a performance, a keynote speaker. You will be able to have a personalized experience by being able to control this virtual camera on these virtual spaces. As you can also imagine, this is very interesting for teleconferencing. I will be able to hold a meeting with my colleagues, with my friends, with my family in these virtual spaces, especially nowadays that it's complicated to hold events in a public space. And just to finish with this demo, I'm just going to quickly zoom in on myself. So this is another advantage of voxels versus polygons or point clouds or other 3D representations. If this was done with polygons, my body will appear to be very flat. You cannot process those amount of data in real time. And if it was point clouds, you will be seeing through myself. I will not be a solid hologram. So this is really what our technology can offer for live 3D holograms and this type of experiences. So coming back to the slides, I just want to finish with a couple of them. So our understanding is that live holograms are going to be everywhere, from education to training, gaming, marketing, and many other use cases that you are going to see in the upcoming years. For us, the way that we market this technology is actually integrating it into products, services, and applications that other companies like Logitech or other big technology companies are going to integrate into their own products and services. So our business model is licensing and revenue sharing with these big technology companies that will be offering products that integrate our technology. And that's all from me. So thank you very much again, and I'm happy to take any question.
Thank you. Now, if you can both activate your camera so we can see you as we ask you questions. While you do that, I'd like to go back to my slides just to show you a little bit of a RAS resource that I want to share with you. If you like this event, please rate it. We have a survey feedback at the end of this event. Also, you get a free box of snacks that we, in lieu of not being able to have any beer or fun drinks at these events, we're sending everybody home, if you're interested, a box of free snacks from a Swiss-based startup. But also we have a raffle for 50 francs just to give us your feedback. So we really appreciate it. So back to you guys. We have a lot of questions. I'm going to move to you, Matthias. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I think we could definitely see it later. So I'm gonna move over this way. And if you can both activate your screen for the question portion of it. Thank you. Welcome back. Thank you both. And we also here with Matthias, who will be posing some of the questions. So one of the kind of the questions that we have is, what is the, you're both creating first of its kind solution technology. What are the advantages and challenges of bringing to market this solution that is at the cutting edge of your spaces, of your fields? I'll start with you, Javier. This is quite revolutionary and applicable to our new virtual environment. So what have been the challenges in bringing this to market?
So the main challenges for this type of technology is that, as you pointed out, it doesn't exist. We have not seen other companies being able to do real-time capture under 200 milliseconds, that it will be something that is perceptually acceptable. And that is very interesting to open new markets and open new verticals. But it's also very challenging from the point of view that that ecosystem doesn't exist yet. You have to combine this technology with hardware, with cameras, with displays that are enhancing the experience of having a 3D hologram. And also you have to find new use cases and new business cases that are interesting for these companies and for the consumers. So the main problem is creating that ecosystem, creating that first use case that they cannot, for example, investors cannot usually compare it to something that exists right now, because it's very difficult to understand how much revenue are you going to produce with this, how much traction are you going to produce with this. So I will say, yeah, the main challenge is that how do you bring to market a product that doesn't exist and that depends in a full ecosystem of hardware, software, streaming, and other solutions that have to be plugged in.
And that I assume for you, Lynn, is in somewhat similar terms as well. What has the challenges been for you in bringing this platform to market?
So in our context, it's slightly different because there are various milestones before you bring a product to market per se in biotech. But you can bring a product to value before you bring it to market through various partnering and out-licensing scenarios. But I would say that both the challenge and the opportunity that we've had is that we've had to create an ecosystem from scratch. We have a company, but we've also created a foundation, because the concept of precision medicine in neurodevelopmental disorders and even in neuropsychiatry in general was virtually non-existent because people perceived the field as non-attainable for this type of application because of the paradigm, the definition of the diseases. And it's by questioning these definitions and the way that people conceptualize neuropsychiatric disorders, that we were able to start making sense out of it and develop a technology. That it's really both the challenge and the opportunity. It's creating the ecosystem from scratch to be able to actually develop your market, which is precision medicine for neurodevelopmental disorders and neuropsychiatric disorders. And that also has an enormous potential to induce a groundbreaking change. It's very exciting. So both our challenge and our opportunity lies in a common point. Yeah.
And I think a common question around that we're getting is about financing. So one of the questions we're getting is how, what were the main challenges to financing for both of you? But also, how do you communicate the science behind your business to potential investors and customers, right? These are two highly technical technologies, highly technical solutions with a wide range of applications. One more precise than the other. But what has that been, and what are some of the challenges in either fundraising process, but also communicating that to potential investors and customers?
Should I start? Okay. So I would say that for fundraising, at least the first steps are quite good in Switzerland. There is a nice ecosystem to start from a lab and create a startup. For example, at EPFL, you have the Inno grants that you can apply to do so. There is also very nice innovation competitions like VentureKit, Venture Lab that support startups in the first steps to create the business model, to create the product vision, and so on. So that's quite nice. Then I feel that between that and Series A, it's also nicely covered by business angels in Switzerland and some early stage venture funds that support the startups. But there is still, I feel, a gap of financing for Series A in Switzerland, especially for deep tech, that sometimes you have to go and find elsewhere. So that's something that for us, when we speak with VCs and when we speak with different institutions for financing, is a message that we want to deliver to them, that Switzerland has a very high output of scientific papers, of IP in the universities, but then there is a gap, especially for Series A, to finance these startups, and that makes talent and IP go elsewhere. That means that US companies are acquiring Swiss startups at a very early stage before they can really develop a big business, and that's a pity.
Javier, just a question.
Yeah.
It's related to actually what you're telling right now. How do investors react to the fact that you have to find all the use cases and that actually you have to create the market? It's the same question for Lynn, actually.
So I will be quick on that one. It was a process for us to realize the right strategy. We were trying to define very specific products, and that meant to think about the marketing, the communication, the productization, the relationship with the consumer. But we decided that given the deep tech nature of our solution and the many multiple use cases that you could build on top, the best strategy was to connect with big technology companies like Logitech, Microsoft, and others, to integrate our technology into their products and services, because they have the possibility and the resources to explore many of those use cases. They have the resources to market them, to productize them, to have really a closer understanding of the product towards the consumers. So it was much easier for us to pursue this strategy of collaboration with big technology companies.
So yes, on my side, there were multiple questions that came in throughout the exchanges, but I would say that to answer twofold. So your first question, which was about how do you get financing? Well, there's no magic recipes, but there are strong driving lines. And the first one is, of course, adapting to your audience and the type of investor that you're addressing, nourishing your network, both within your specialized network and capital accessibility networks. So it doesn't mean you have to access directly those who hold capital, but enabling networks and facilitating networks. Obviously, operating and being capable, and this is always the biggest challenge for entrepreneurs, is being capable to ongoingly scale up and develop your technology while you're raising funds. So it's always this equilibrium between having to dedicate 90 to 100% of your time to fundraising while dedicating the other 100% of your time to developing your venture and developing your venture to be able to reasonably continue dedicating time to raising capital and your network while nourishing the scaling up of your team. So it's an eternal challenge that you're always readjusting. And you need to be profoundly agile and reactive to be able to maintain this balance and equilibrium. And then in terms of the actual creation of value, this equilibrium between financing and creating value, it can also be addressed through what Javier just mentioned. You have to bring your innovation forward while seeking to financiers who love the concept of innovation, but are risk averse and like that innovation is validated by others first. So you have to seek for validation so that your risk takers are comfortable with their risk because they receive validation from others. And this can be done through engaging with KOL, I'm speaking here in biotech, KOL networks and clinical and preclinical experts in our domain, usually in the US, and getting validation and accreditation for our technology through partnerships and interest from strategic players. And then you're no longer looking for capital, you have investors looking to invest in your venture. So there's kind of a shift in power that happens between the Series A, Series B, and a subsequent series. And you have to prepare early on this shift in value where at first you're striving to finance your scale up and the development of your technology and convince about your innovation before getting external validation for your innovation and having investors actually wanting to get a portion of your shares and ownership in your company.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And along those lines, I mean, you both come from a very, very technical background, and sort of in your journey coming from research and spinning out this research, commercializing it. What has the transition been for you guys to enter into the business world? What have been the from being the researcher in the lab to then now being a CEO? What was that like? And also, what are the skills that were harder to learn or that you had to develop that were harder to acquire that maybe you didn't anticipate as for example, Javier, you've expanded your company into the US now. You're actively looking clients within entertainment industry and those customers. Can you give us some reflection on what that has been for you both? From researchers to CEOs.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that a very important message to anybody that wants to create a startup is surround yourself by people that have complementary skills and knowledge to yours. Because obviously this is, as soon as you start, this is a race. And the better that you prepare, the better the people that support you is what is going to make this race successful. And obviously, yes, in my background, I had some if you wish, business administration courses, but mostly was computer science, engineering. So I had to use my non-free time, because you don't have free time, but use your free time to get up to speed with things that you have not faced before, like fundraising, administration, managing a team, project management, different aspects of what means to run a business. But I think that the most important message is try to find people that know best than you on those different aspects. Right.
So on my side, it wasn't the straightforward line that you described. I've always been going back and forth between business and researchers, and the common in research, and the common link between this were people. It's really about getting, as Javier mentioned, the best people together, and the capacity. I think what makes an entrepreneur and makes the translation from science, vision, into tangible entrepreneurial ventures is the capacity to put people together, the capacity to leverage on the people that you hire, to learn from them, to the lawyers who advise you, to learn as you go and become specialized in every element that you meet on your path, and this absolute capacity to constantly learn. So it's not only about the science, it's about the science, but it's about then the capacity to put the right people together to make it happen. And of course, absolute perseverance. I think that for entrepreneurs, the current period, and I speak here from experience in my own venture, the COVID crisis is not that different from what we experienced every day as entrepreneurs in the past, because addressing adversity and finding solutions and being pragmatic and agile is about what we are.
Yeah. Matías, this is close to a lot of the tech transfer research that you do. Do you have any comments or questions on what these journeys represent, and what advice we could give to people right now who are currently in a lab, who might not even think that this could be commercialized, or students who just might be studying different fields, or those who are like, this is extremely technical. I'm in gestión and management and business. Like, this is too far off for me, but very relatable, I think.
Sure, these examples are already, I would say, in some cases, major startups, but we work really early stage, even before the startup is created, but it's an important moment to build up the IP. The first IP, which really helps to start the company, to have a strong license, strong IP, which reassures also investors that the company can start flying. At least not being attacked from all sides immediately after creation, because it has some IP. And of course, it's a critical stage, because researchers are still, some of them quite comfortably in the academic setup, and they have to jump into the entrepreneurial world. And that's not an easy step. So if major entrepreneurs have challenges to develop the company, to fund them, early stage entrepreneurs also have their own challenges, because they have to change their mind from being a researcher to becoming an entrepreneur. And it's a critical stage where we are here to support them, give them advice, connect them to a lot of people, and that's our job.
Right. So one of along with that question, I would ask, to you guys, what was the most valuable piece of advice or resource within the Swiss community, or within the Geneva community, within the Lausanne community, that was helpful to you in those steps, to really start thinking, okay, this idea, this research can have some legs. This can be a scalable company and a successful company at that.
Can you point to something specific that was helpful to you? And that people listening to us could also look after or look for as they find themselves in the same place?
For me, as I mentioned before, like support from people that knows better. So that's why we applied to be part of the coaching system of InnoSwiss, and we are happily supported by them. We are part of FONGIT, the Fondation de la Innovación Tecnológica in Geneva, the incubator that also is has been very helpful for us to fill the gaps on things that we didn't know or that we needed to learn more. So yeah, look for the organizations, for the institutions, for anything that can help to start and make the jump and then be ready to run and to race.
To run fast. And how about for you, Lynn?
Yeah.
I think the key concept that was given to me and transmitted to me by fellow entrepreneurs in the U.S. Silicon Valley ecosystem, because I did spend a lot of time over there to raise capital and learn from venture experience, was to acknowledge the hurdles and focus on the opportunity. So you just acknowledge the hurdles and just go for it and be agile, advance fast, because time is cash burn, and cash burn is not free. You need to create value. So surrounding yourself with the right people, because a lot of people like being around entrepreneurs and advising entrepreneurs, but you really have to find these trusted advisors with whom you don't have to only show the rosy picture, but be able to come to them with your challenges. And in my case, this was a corporate lawyer who is specialized in biotech and tech, and who I see both as a service provider, but as a mentor to develop myself as an entrepreneur.
Thank you both. So we're running a little bit out of time, and but I want to thank everybody who posed questions. There's some very technical questions to you guys that I would like to, go for it, Matthias.
Yeah, well, but very shortly, I think, as you were starting to say, there are many quite precise questions about how to get your first customer, how it is at the beginning, etc. So the advice I would give to the audience is to go and participate in startup competitions, participate in the courses, such as the ones that are presented today. And go and talk to mentors and coaches, as you explained, Lynn. It's really important. And the good thing is the trainings that you get these days, they force you to go to the market and meet your first customers. So take this opportunity actually within the academic setup to meet your first customers. That's your opportunity. You don't need to wait any longer. You don't need to wait until your company is created. Do that early.
Absolutely. For customers can dictate a lot of what your business decisions and technology could do. So that's probably the best advice we could give. And I would invite others too that have really technical questions to you guys to connect with them. Find them on LinkedIn or send them an email to their company. I'm sure they'll be happy to answer questions around their specific technology and help you think through if you have something on the visual 3D space or as well as the biomedical platforms, which are some of the questions we have here today, that I invite you to do that. So thank you both. Thank you, Matthias. I'm just going to display one more slide, so I'm going to move over here. But thank you both for participating, for joining us in this discussion, for presenting. There we go. Switching mics now. For presenting with us today. And to all of you in the audience, thank you so much for joining us at the end of the week. I hope you had a great week with everybody celebrating all the topics we have ahead. And then just really quickly, rate this event. Help us understand what other topics we can bring to you here in Geneva, now virtually, so it really doesn't matter anywhere. We want to send you a free box of snacks to fill this survey.
And also, one of the things, we have a great event coming up in December 3rd. Go to our Science to Market website. There we go. Go to our Science to Market website. We're partnering up with a few accelerators here in the Swiss region to bring to you the first Swiss accelerator showcase. So we will be having companies from Pulse, from Genus, pitching and showcasing their ideas. A lot of really good technologies at the beginning stages. So I invite you to join us. So I'm just going to put sciencetomarket.ch is where you can see that event, and I hope that you can join us. So thank you all very much, and have a great afternoon. Thank you, Matthias, and thank you to the team for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.